Hello, friends. I have received a request for Anansi and the moss-covered rock. I looked the story up and have found that Anansi is a folklore character from Ghana. This is a West African tale told by a close-knit people who rely on social order and community. I hope I can do this story justice, and that this is what Kate was hoping for when she made the request. So join me now as I read Anansi and the Moss-Covered Stone. As dawn's first light slipped through the towering kapok and iroko trees of a profound Ghanaian forest, a gentle hush fell across the leaf-carpeted ground. Dewdrops twinkled like scattered diamonds on the ferns, and distant birdsong echoed through emerald canopies. Known in whispered tales as a master of cunning, Anansi, the spider, set out on slender legs, each step careful and deliberate, under the soft hush of dawn. Legends of a mysterious boulder draped in lush emerald moss had reached his many eyes and ears. They said it held a strange power, one that could bend the will of those who spoke near it. Intrigued, Anansi approached the rumored stone in a secluded glade where shafts of golden light pierced the branches to illuminate the ground in a celestial pattern. The moss seemed to shiver, as if breathing. He crouched low, his 8 eyes gleaming with curiosity. A faint hum vibrated from the rock's core, and in the air drifted the scent of earth and rain. His heart pulsed with excitement, equal parts thrill and caution. For a trickster like Anansi, such a discovery promises both danger and opportunity. Little did the forest's creatures know that before the sun reached its zenith, their peaceful routines would be upended forever by the secret power of the moss-covered rock. In his silky gait, Anansi crept closer, trailing his slender legs over damp earth. Each step settled leaf litter beneath his body until he stood before the moss-draped monolith. The boulder was larger than a tortoise shell, but smaller than a hyena's den, covered from crown to base in thick emerald moss, pulsing with a faint inner light. Anansi paused to trace a delicate leg across its surface. Beneath his touch, the moss trembled, as if awakened. A faint whisper swelled in his many ears, an echo of distant words carried by the wind, promising power to the speaker. Heart pounding, Anansi tested his gamble. He leaned in close and, in his crisp voice, repeated the phrase he'd gleaned from the glimmering corridors of folklore. Moss-covered rock, grant me dreams of deepest rest. The forest stilled. A moment passed, and with a startled frown, Anansi realized the enchantment's secret. The speaker would instantly fall into a deep, unshakable slumber. Silk spun and whispered, a web of enchantment weaving itself around consciousness. The first casualty of this strange magic was a curious duiker that wandered through the clearing in search of berries. Drawn by the rock's glow, the gentle creature paused and tilted its head. Anansi, hidden in the undergrowth, struck with precision. Hurried whispers of powder he'd gathered, dust from sleeping herbs, and a pinch of enchanted trade, bringing the effect near. At his subtle signal, the duiker uttered the key phrase with a soft gasp. Its legs buckled. In seconds, the tiny deer collapsed in a mossy patch, breathing steadily in slumber, sweet as the noon breeze. Quick as a thought, Anansi approached and loaded its pouches with juicy berries and tender shoots. Each stolen treat fueled his bold spirit. Word in the forest was slow to spread, but Anansi's first triumph filled him with ravenous delight. Under the hushed canopy, he moved with newfound confidence. From burrow to clearing, unsuspecting creatures approached the rock, lured by curiosity and the murmur of legend. A warthog sought to rest its weary legs. A parrot alighted to preen its feathers, and a bush buck wandered in hopes of shade. Each recited the secret words, and each succumbed to sudden sleepwood. Anansi darted among them, harvesting food, trinkets, and bright feathers. By late afternoon, the glade was littered with slumbering shapes. Anansi perched on the highest rock beside his magical prize, his small form outlined by golden light. His chest swelled with pride at the clever ruse that left everyone but himself awake to relish the spoils. He laughed, a soft rippling in his throat, certain that no trick had ever been so exquisite. Yet in the shadows, unseen eyes watched and whispered, and the forest balance teetered on the edge of upheaval. Word of Anansi's strange harvest drifted upward through the intertwined branches and across the forest floor, carried by parrot squawks and duker snuffles in sleep. Colorful macaws discovered precious clay beads stolen from a potter's pouch. Monkeys woke to missing bananas they'd hoarded. A jackal emerged from its den to find prized ivory carvings vanished. The entire community felt the web of guilt for their missing treasures, unaware of the rhyme that bound one speaker to sleep. As dusk tinted the sky in hues of orange and purple, creatures gathered at the edge of the glade. Rumor and resentment crackled in the underbush. Lion cubs, once brave, now whispered of a fear so strange it stole their roaring courage. The graceful bush buck declared her loyalty misplaced when sandals carved of palm seemed to vanish from her resting spot. Gasps and tales wound among them until the forest floor resembled a council chamber draped in vines. Anansi, confident in his solitude, continued his nightly expeditions. Under cover of shadow, he danced across leaf litter, his silk legs swift. Each time he approached the rock, he spoke the phrase and watched his quarry crumple. Fruit, feathers, nuts, and toys, all piled at his webbed feet. Yet beneath his triumph fled a subtle dread. The animal's mutterings were incremental sparks that might ignite a fire of rebellion. In the hush before midnight, a tortoise, known in whispers for his counsel, made his way toward the rock. His shell creaked softly as he navigated gnarled roots. He approached the enchanted stone, not to fall victim, but to observe the ruse with careful eyes. While others had stumbled by chance, the tortoise's mind charted the pattern, noted the cadence, tone, and the eager glint of Anansi's many eyes. That night, by lamplight of flickering fireflies, a gathering formed. Lion, monkey, parrot, duker, and even tiny field mice circled around the wise tortoise. They pressed close, whispering details of feathers lost, provisions stolen, and the hush that overtook them. It was clear a trap existed, a trap anchored by the magic of an unknown phrase, and at its center sat the small, cunning spider. Their decision was unanimous. They would learn from Anansi's own craft. If one phrase cast them into slumber, another might rouse them, or even send the trickster into sweet repose. They would turn the tables, weave their counterspell, and reclaim the forest's sense of trust and justice. As twilight yielded to silver moonlight, the animals moved to their appointed roles. The tortoise revealed a secret, a counter-phrase whispered on the wind. Awaken me, O hidden stone. Each creature practiced quietly in underbrush shadows, choosing the perfect pitch and pace. Success required unity. Misstep would leave them vulnerable once more. At dawn, Anansi resumed his rounds. With silk legs skimming the soft earth, he approached the mossy boulder, still humming under the night's chill. He had no notion that the hunter had become the hunted. Confident of another night of triumph, Anansi spoke his magic words. Moss-covered rock, grant me dreams of deepest rest. The phrase rolled from his many lips, but this time the rock did not stir. A puzzle flickered in Anansi's bright eyes. He repeated the chant with sharper emphasis, yet the glow remained unchanged. Bewilderment crept into his gait. From silent shadows, the tortoise emerged first, his sturdy form gliding forward. He spoke clearly. Awaken me, O hidden stone. The animals, poised in line, echoed the words in quiet unison. Beneath their collective breath, the moss shivered, and a warm pulse spread through the boulder. Light burst upward in a gentle wave that lanced across the clearing. Caught off guard, Anansi felt his many legs grow heavy. Silk pins multiplied on each foot, weaving over his body in a soft but unyielding net. He tried to flee, but his limbs creaked and slackened. The cunning spider struggled as consciousness drifted. One by one, the animals advanced, retrieving not just their own treasures, but tokens from every corner of the forest that Anansi had claimed in selfish delight. Soft feathers slipped from his webs, ripe fruit tumbled from hidden sacks, and bundles of nuts rolled free from his silk confines. Each creature reclaimed its spoils with quiet dignity. When the final thread of enchantment loosened, Anansi lay on his back, staring at the sky brushed with morning gold. Around him stood the forest community, no longer scattered in fear or trickery, but united in purpose. The tortoise bent low, addressing the spider not with anger, but with calm words of wisdom about fairness and respect. Anansi's heart drummed a quiet apology as he realized the cost of his selfish game. In that golden moment, lessons of unity, consequence, and mutual trust settled deep into his crafty soul. The forest fell silent, save for a breeze whispering through the tall canopy that had borne witness to Anansi's great adventure. Standing in the clearing, the animals shared glances rich with triumph and relief, each clutching the treasures that had been rightfully theirs. Anansi, humbled and thoughtful, bowed his slender legs before the tortoise, who had guided them with patience and prudence. No longer was the spider's mind met solely with cunning plots. Now he carried the weight of understanding that true cleverness shines brightest when tempered with fairness. From that day onward, the creatures of the Ghanaian forest spoke of the moss-covered rock, not only as a source of magical slumber, but as a lesson in community and justice. Tales of unity and restoration wove through their stories, reminding every new generation that trickery without compassion may catch prey, but kindness and equity capture the heart. And so the forest thrived, bound by a respect that glowed warmer than any enchanted stone. And Anansi himself learned that the greatest web he could spin was one that connected rather than ensnared. Oh, I love this story. I love this message. I hope all of us take it to heart. I I just couldn't break into it with any kind of reaction. It was so beautiful. Well, I mean, there's nothing else to say, but please like, share, and subscribe. There's a notification bell, because it'll go ding and wake you up from this lovely story. I would like to thank Pixabay.com for being just the best ever. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, you don't even have to pay, as there's a free moral supporter, and I would enjoy it. I also have an Instagram or a Facebook, but, Patreon seems to be something that I do more. Most of all, I'd like to thank you, my friends, for watching and listening and being here with me week after week. Thank you. And now a special thank you to my Patreon friends.